What an incredible crowd that just silences without even being asked. I just cannot thank you enough. You look fabulous here today, and good afternoon to all of you. My name is Andrew Hone, and I'm the president and CEO of the Portland Business Alliance, which is Greater Portland's Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much for joining me at our State of the Region address today to hear from our Metro Council President, Lynn Peterson. We really are thrilled to be hosting this event in the World Trade Center Conference Center. I just want to reflect on something. The last event held in this space was in March of 2020. A lot has changed. I think we've all been through a lot professionally, personally. Our region has had a few things happen to it. But here we are today doing something that we have not been able to do in this space in a long time. And I think we should hold the fact that we get to gather in community to hear about where we've come from and where we're going, because it matters, and because downtown matters, and because coming together as community matters. So please give all of yourselves a big round of applause. In addition to the incredible efforts of two organizations who I'll talk about shortly, it's more than just grit that makes an event like this possible, but there are sponsors as well, and I want to make sure that we give gratitude to them. So let me start by saying our sponsors are ZGF Architects, who has been designing space for people and places for the past 70 years, and the University of Oregon, which has numerous educational opportunities right here in Portland, including the School of Journalism and Communications. Let's give our two signature sponsors a big round of applause. We have outstanding community sponsors, and I'm going to call them out, and please hold your applause to the very end, but we have a great lineup of supporters. The Beaverton Area Chamber of Commerce, Clackamas County Business Alliance, Oregon Business and Industry, Building Owners and Managers Association of Oregon, the Portland Metropolitan Association of Realtors, Sport Oregon, Washington County Chamber of Commerce, and the Westside Economic Alliance. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Before I introduce our co-host, I want to take a minute to acknowledge the absolute hard work of our events team at the Alliance, who oftentimes puts up with crazy ideas from me, but I just have to say thank you so much for turning on a dime with this. Let's give the staff of the Alliance a huge round of applause. Last, but certainly not least, thank you to our co-host, the Venerable City Club of Portland. As you know, City Club has hosted this event for many years, and we are thrilled, truly, to partner with them to bring this event to all of you. And now, I'd like to welcome up Bobby Regan with the City Club of Portland. Please give her a big round of applause.
Thank you so much, Andrew, and good afternoon, everyone. I'm Bobby Regan with the City Club of Portland, and it is City Club's pleasure to co-produce today's program with the Portland Business Alliance. More than 100 years ago today, City Club hosted its first public forums and debates. While a lot has changed since then, as Andrew just mentioned, City Club continues to strive to be an independent, nonpartisan organization committed to providing a space for people to gather and participate in lively conversation and research about the critical issues confronting our community. Today, as we co-host the State of the Region program, we invite you to become a City Club member. Visit pdxcityclub.org/membership to learn more. City Club is proud to offer programs at no cost to our members and non-members alike, and we believe the ability to participate in our democracy should not be conditioned on economic circumstances. Please consider becoming a member and making a donation today. Before introducing Metro Council President Lynn Peterson, I want to take a moment to give some background on Metro itself. Metro was created about 40 years ago, becoming the nation's first directly elected regional government. At that time, Portland area leaders saw a need to provide region-wide planning and coordination to manage growth, infrastructure, and development issues that cross jurisdictional boundaries. They also saw a need to protect farms and forests from urbanization and to provide services that are regional in nature. I'd venture to say that today we continue to need this region-wide planning and coordination more than ever. Today, Metro serves more than 1.7 million people in Clackamas, Multnomah, and Washington counties. Its boundaries include 23 cities, including Portland. Metro is charged with investing in affordable housing, supportive housing services and parks, protecting farms, forests, and water resources, conducting planning related to land use and transportation, overseeing tourism and cultural venues, including the Portland Convention Center and the Oregon Zoo, and managing the region's garbage and recycling service. The Metro Council itself consists of a president who is elected region-wide and 6 councilors elected by district. The Metro Auditor is also elected region-wide. With that background, it is now my great honor to introduce Lynn Peterson, Metro Council President. Peterson was first elected Metro President in 2019 and was re-elected in 2023. Prior to this role, she served as chair of the Clackamas County Commission, and before that, she served on the Lake Oswego City Council. Peterson holds advanced degrees in civil and environmental engineering and urban and regional planning. She served as secretary of the Washington State Department of Transportation for Governor Inslee and as a senior transportation policy advisor to Oregon Governor John Kitzhaber. Today, as Metro President, Peterson oversees a budget of nearly $1.8 billion and more than 1,100 Metro employees. Please join me in welcoming Metro President Lynn Peterson.
Well, first I'd like to just acknowledge a big round of applause to PBA and Portland City Club again. If you could give them a round of applause for hosting this today. It's very much appreciated. And Bobby, we've done this a couple times before, and every format is different, and I love it, keeping it real, so thank you. Before we get going, I would love to have all the Metro staff stand up and just be acknowledged for all of the hard work we're going to talk about today. Metro staff, please stand up. Yay. Represents a lot of hard work. And then also thank you to the electeds in the room. We've got 2 Metro councilors here. Councilor Rosenthal and Councilor Huang are here. Why don't you stand up? Our JPAC counselors are in DC working very hard on transportation, making sure that we can get the stuff done we need to get done. And also, I think the first couple rows, we've got electeds and community thought leaders. If you will please just stand up, or formally elected, please stand up. I just want to recognize we've got folks from around the region here, and yep, go ahead. From Clackamas to Washington, so thank you. I wanted to take a moment today to talk about opportunity. Opportunity to grow, opportunity for change, opportunity to excel. Our region is experiencing some hard times, but we can't wallow in a spiral of despair. We have to find opportunities to build the region the way we want, to uphold our promises for change, and set the table for what the rest of the century will look like. Today I'm going to talk about Metro's efforts to address homelessness, housing affordability, and construction, plus our ongoing work to bolster our construction workforce and an innovative effort to bring more tourism jobs to our region through a reimagining of the Expo Center. I want to start by acknowledging what all of us saw around this building today and how the streets of our region have changed in the past few years. All of us know how this region feels less safe than it used to, and many of us have experienced that unease firsthand. And many of us have heard from our employees who are struggling to make ends meet, who themselves are looking for help and feeling unsafe or that sense of unease. Now, I want to be clear. Metro is not trying to solve every problem, but we are working to be a part of the solution to a lot of the challenges in our region. And I want to share with you how we are doing in some areas where we're focusing our attention. The first is supportive housing services, the Regional Homeless Service Measure. I'm here to give you the 21-month update on our 10-year program. Regionally, it is our moonshot to fundamentally change the situation on our streets and improve the quality of life for all of our region's residents, while restoring that magic that made this one of the best places in the country to open and operate a small business in the 2010s. Our program launched in July 2021, so it's less than 2 years into this 10-year effort. And I want to remind you that our goal by 2030 was to help place 5,000 people experiencing long-term homelessness into permanent supportive housing. We will also help 10,000 people who are newly homeless or about to fall into homelessness access housing stability. So far, to date, our efforts have touched more than 14,000 lives with this measure, and that is a big round of applause to all 3 counties who have been working so hard. 14,000 lives. From January 2022 to April 23, Metro Supportive Housing Service Program helped more than 10,300 people avoid homelessness through eviction prevention programs. In that same time, nearly 10,000 evictions took place in Multnomah County alone. It's almost jaw-dropping to think about how bad our homeless crisis would be without the work we're doing upstream to prevent the tsunami from inundating our streets. And I want to just state very clearly, we are not going to solve our homelessness crisis if we aren't able to keep people in the housing they already have. So for the people in this room on the upstream end, the people in property management and legal services, I know this is a complicated problem. But we are not going to fix our region's homelessness crisis if 1,000 people a month are being evicted from their homes. Please continue your good work, working with service providers and tenants to help avoid eviction when possible. While we continue to address the growing crisis upstream because of the tsunami of evictions in our region, we do have results to report downstream. Last month, the regional point-in-time count of people experiencing homelessness showed that chronic homelessness is down in our region. Yes, the overall numbers are up. Again, the eviction data does not lie. But the number of people who have been on the streets for years, the people that our supportive housing service program is designed to help, they're getting the help they need. Not fast enough, and it's never going to feel like it's fast enough. But the mountain is being climbed. There are improvements that the system needs to work effectively, and some of that work is happening as Metro works with Multnomah County to improve its performance on the measure. One of our key roles is to provide transparency and accountability, and we're going to do that because this work must succeed. This is only part of Metro's work in helping to address our regional housing crisis. The most important thing for all of us is providing people with a place to call home. In the past decade, we've seen over 51,000 new apartments built around our region, both market rate and subsidized. More new apartments than there are households in the city of Beaverton. But everyone in this room who's worked in construction or finance or development knows that most of those apartments only pencil out if they're attracting higher rents in their early years to cover the financing needed to build them. And with the number of people who were moving here in the 2010s, those new apartments still weren't enough to house all of the people who came here for jobs, their quality of life, for their families, and their future. And what that left was thousands of people getting priced out of the market. In 2018, the voters of our region said they'd had enough. They took a huge step forward, trusting Metro and our partners to build more than 3,900 affordable housing apartments across the greater Portland region, from Forest Grove to Gresham, from St. John's to Oregon City. Our goal was to house 12,000 people with our $650 million bond. We are, simply put, blowing that goal out of the water. Around our region, change is coming, hope is coming, and homes are here with more on the way. In Cornelius, Plaza Los Mamigos will provide homes for 112 families with nearly 200 bedrooms, along with community spaces and supportive housing services when it opens later this year. In Happy Valley, Good Shepherd Village will offer more than 240 bedrooms across 142 units, including apartments for veterans, seniors, and other people who were once homeless when it opens in just a few months. In Lake Oswego, 100 units of affordable housing will include more than 200 bedrooms and offer not only a place to live, but also on-site skills like financial literacy, English as a second language, and health clinics and more. It's scheduled to open in about a year. And in Portland, a building on North Interstate near Max will house 63 families with 136 bedrooms and offer priority housing for families that were displaced from North Portland through the decades. That building is scheduled to open in January 2024. All in all, 1,300 apartments are under construction right now. More than 100 apartments from the bond have already opened, and another 1,200 are in permitting and design. We are 87% to the goal we gave the voters, while only spending 59% of the revenue from the bond. There's much more work to do. Some of the unspent revenue from the interest earnings, for example, will go towards installing air conditioning in bond-funded housing units, ensuring that everyone has a safe place to live and that our affordable housing adapts to our increasingly hot summers. But I'm also thrilled to announce how far we expect to exceed the program's goals. We told voters we hope to build housing for 12,000 people, as I said. We're going to exceed that goal by at least 16%, bringing us to 14,000 people. It's not enough to address the crisis. Rents aren't stabilizing fast enough to meet the needs, but it's a down payment on a better future, and it's one of my proudest accomplishments in my 5 years at Metro. The numbers don't tell the whole story, though. The story of our affordable housing bond program is a story about people like Sharice Norwood. A few months ago, Sharice moved into one of the Metro-funded apartment buildings, the Hattie Redmond. She told us her story when she moved in.
Elevator, computers to use like a business room. That is so amazing. The people here that live here, I get to be neighbors with, and the staff are amazing. I mean, I've never lived in an apartment where you have a community, where you have people that talk to each other. We're like family already. And then, like I said, the staff, I've never had you have 1 or 2 people in the office, at the leasing office, that you get to go, but you got to go pay your rent, you know? So I'm not talking about that. This is different. Having a peer support here is amazing. They have an open door policy. I could just knock and talk about whatever I want. Just by me getting it out and venting and talking about what my issue was, it helped. You know, I don't have to go sit on nobody's couch and be no therapy patient. Yeah, my therapy's right here. Yeah, well, I mean, what more can I ask for right now? Like, really? So much to be thankful and grateful for, man. I wake up every morning and say thank you. It's amazing. Seriously, look at this. We got the Max right here. That's awesome. I'm stoked. I know I'm in the right place at the right time.
We can see it again. No, I'm just kidding. Sharice's story is repeated hundreds of times over in the apartments funded by the Metro Affordable Housing Bond, and will be repeated again when the 2,500 apartments that are in the pipeline are finished. Now, let's be clear. The public sector isn't solving all of our housing issues. It isn't even solving most of our housing issues. The 4,000 or so apartments Metro and our partners are building through our Affordable Housing Bond Program will not single-handedly close the gap between what we are building and what we need to build in this region. It's tantalizingly close, but it's still out of reach. Metro is working hard with a variety of partners to do everything we can to support new home construction all over this region, so that growth can happen in the areas that we've planned for growth. Because it doesn't do us a lot of good to bring land into the urban growth boundary, only to have it sit idle for 20 years because no local government can actually hook it up to sewer or provide a road to that property. Now, we've achieved a lot. From 2011 to 2021, more than 93,000 new homes were built in our region, including 51,000 new apartments and nearly 38,000 single-family homes. But we have to do better. One of our most recent innovations was to do a first-of-its-kind land swap with our urban growth boundary. In the southwest part of the region, the city of Tigard has a willing development partner and plans in place to build as many as 4,500 new homes in its River Terrace 2 development. I want to recognize today and thank Dave Nielsen and Michelle Gila of the Home Builders and PMAR, who helped in every way possible to help us make that happen on the ground so that we could actually move forward with new development in this region. Can we give a round of applause for all of the work that was done? Thank you. We can hold true to our values of protecting farms and forests, being smart about our environment, and cognizant of our role in reducing the rate of climate change, while also doing everything we can to support the people and businesses that actually build the housing for our growing population. Again, thank you to HBA and PMAR for all that you did to work towards a good outcome for everybody. The people who build our homes are such an important part of our regional recovery, and the construction trades are a vital part of the home building industry. There's one metro program that you've heard me talk quite a bit about, and I'm so proud of them. Our regional construction industry has a problem, and it's a problem that's getting older by the day. It's the workforce. Our regional construction industry is a graying industry. We are confronted with the scarcity of skilled workers. With retirement on the horizon for many experienced professionals, we face a potential shortage that threatens the very foundation of the construction industry. But how do we address this impending crisis? The answer lies, in part, in embracing diversity within the construction sector. It's a necessity for the continued growth and vitality of basically any industry, and construction is no exception. By diversifying our workforce, we tap into a vast pool of untapped talent. People who have, up till now, faced barriers when considering entry into the construction industry. Women, people of different ethnicities, and individuals from diverse backgrounds possess unique skills and abilities that can contribute significantly to the construction industry. This year, the Construction Career Pathways Funders Collaborative has invested more than $3 million in the recruitment, training, and retention of BIPOC and women owners into the construction trades. The funding is targeted at organizations who have demonstrated commitment to implementing culturally specific strategies to support diverse workers. This effort was built on and continues to be the result of the collaboration and leadership of the Columbia Pacific Building Trades Council and the Northwest Carpenters Union. Can we give them a round of applause for their continued work on this? These agreements will, in the long run, help limit construction costs, increase our potential workforce, and make it easier to build important public assets. Things like, I don't know, the Interstate Bridge Replacement Project that is so desperately needed, and I hope all of us in this room can support that project. There's a trend here, and hopefully you've seen it by now. If not, let me say it out loud. Metro prioritizes efficiencies and synergies, trying to achieve multiple goals at once. How can we improve our economy and address equity at the same time? How can we support small businesses and the workers who keep them running while also working on our region's most pressing need of housing affordability? One project that I'm particularly excited about in this regard is our Expo Future project, looking at how we can make the most of the Metro-owned 53-acre Expo Center property in North Portland while also honoring the site's past. Many of you know Metro for its management of the Oregon Convention Center, bringing the world to Portland for business meetings and trade shows. When the convention center is humming, it supports hotels, restaurants, and shops, as well as exposure to all things wonderful about this place. In fact, I want to take a moment right now and thank our Oregon Convention Center team, which announced last month that the National Education Association will bring its convention to our city in 2025, the largest ever convention to come to Portland with more than 12,000 visitors. Let's give it a round of applause. So what if we could copy this model and expand our impact on regional economy? What if we could use our assets to bring new visitors to Oregon, filling more room nights, bringing more customers to our great restaurants, and sparking more trips to wine country, to Bend, to the coast, to the gorge? It's with that mindset that we are approaching a new vision at the Expo Center property, one that uses the growing sports tourism industry to bring more visitors to Oregon. By working in partnership with area businesses and community groups, we're going to bring events that are currently slated to skip our region and bring these dollars into our economy. It's easy to ask yourself, what kinds of sporting events are you even talking about? But the fact is, if it's a competitive event, there's probably an organized tournament to it. Here's an example. Spokane has a similar facility to one we're thinking about at Expo. It's called the Podium. Earlier this year, 2 NCAA conferences hosted their indoor track and field championships at the Podium, bringing hundreds of athletes and their families to Spokane for a nationally televised competition. This summer, the Podium is hosting numerous sports tournaments with competitors from all over the world, plus concerts and community events. This type of venue can host basketball, wrestling, and pickleball. All right, a round of applause for pickleball. Sports tourism is one of the largest sectors in the travel industry. Nationwide, the sports tourism sector's direct spending impact is $39.7 billion, with a total economic impact of $92 billion. It supports 635,000 full-time and part-time jobs. This can be a part of the tourism industry in Oregon. If it's a competitive event, it can have a home at Expo Center. In fact, we've already gotten started. On June 17th, we'll be hosting the inaugural 8 Seconds Juneteenth Rodeo at the Expo Center, featuring some of the country's best Black rodeo athletes, plus music and comedy. It's an innovative idea that's bringing together culture, history, and competition and brings new visitors to our region. I am personally so excited about the prospect of welcoming the world's competitors to Portland. But it's important that we do this with a heart. How do we recognize the site's history of forced displacement and integrate the histories and lessons learned into Expo's future? The land on which Expo Center was built is Native land, and Metro is engaging with regional tribes to discuss how to properly recognize that reality in the next phase of management of the Expo site. 80 years ago, when the Expo Center was a county livestock exhibition center, federal and state officials made the repulsive decision to use Expo to incarcerate over 3,600 Americans of Japanese ancestry during World War II. Expo Center original halls are some of the last surviving Japanese assembly centers on the West Coast. And we are going to work with the Portland Japanese American community to ensure that that history is recognized in a way that is responsive to what they want. Okay. But yet there's more on this site. Shortly after World War II, Expo bore witness to one of Portland's greatest tragedies, when the nearby community of Vanport was inundated by Columbia River floodwaters, killing at least 15 Oregonians and completely upending 40,000 lives in one of Oregon's only racially integrated communities. One of those people whose life was upended was a young Ed Washington, who went on to serve on the Metro Council from 1991 to 2002. Ed, would you please stand up to be recognized for all of your community service? Ed not only serves on the Expo Futures project, but he also serves on the I-5 bridge replacement project. So I get to see him a lot these days, and which makes me a very happy person. Your contributions to this region are so numerous and so meaningful, so thank you again for all you do. Our work must recognize the cultural importance of that site for Oregon's history and for its future. I'm proud of the way our team has worked to make the cultural connections a top priority, so that we never lose sight of the important connection in our efforts to adapt Expo to an evolving economy. That's just a part of what Metro is working on. I didn't talk about our ongoing work to protect our region's air and water quality through the voter-approved Parks and Nature programs. I didn't talk about our efforts to modernize recycling and garbage collection. And I did not talk about the Oregon Zoo, which is globally recognized conservation work and meaningful impact in endangered species survival in a way that's going so well that it's not at the top of the list this year. Metro isn't here to solve every problem. We're here to bridge gaps and look for efficiencies and help build those collaborative efforts that tackle our biggest challenges so that our economy can grow, so that our people can thrive, so that our history can be acknowledged and, when needed, repaired, and so our environment can flourish. I'm honored that you took the time in your busy schedules today to join us, and I look forward to taking your questions. Thanks.
One more round of applause for our Metro President. Thank you for those words, Metro President Peterson. We are just appreciative of the vision you've laid out here. And now you've had questions, and we have someone who's going to ask them for you. So with that, I would like to welcome our moderator to the stage, Regina Lawrence, who is the Associate Dean at the University of Oregon School of Journalism and Communication. Please welcome Regina.
No, not yet. Oh, there we go. My goodness. Thank you so much for those, just an outstanding overview of everything that's happening here. And just by way of a little bit of introduction, all the exciting developments you were just talking about, I just wonder if everybody's heard, I hope everybody's heard about the incredible gift that the U of O received from Steve and Connie Ballmer, which has allowed us to purchase the former Concordia University campus in Northeast Portland. And that's where the U of O in Portland will be relocating over the next year and a half. And that is really part of the vision for the Ballmer Institute for Children's Behavioral Health. So we're really excited about what that will bring to the region, to the city, to the university, and we're really excited to be joining PSU and OHSU in addressing the mental health of Oregon's young people. So we're excited about that.
That's great. Thank you.
And that will be a big addition to everything that we already do
Yes.
at the U of O. Thank you. So we've had a home here in Portland for decades, so that means we are deeply committed to the vitality of this region. And so I'm so happy to have a chance to talk with you today. So let's dive in. And let's talk about homelessness, an issue that you talked a lot about, and specifically the visible manifestation of it in unsheltered homelessness. That's the top concern, as you know, for most residents and businesses in this region. And in 2020, you as Metro President, along with providers, the business community, and the Alliance, advocated for and passed the Homeless Services Measure that's now known as the Supportive Housing Services, or SHS. That's the largest per capita dedicated revenue source in the nation for homeless services, on top of what is presently being spent in the 3 counties. And the key function of Metro, as outlined in the measure, was accountability and oversight of the counties. So can you describe, from your perspective, what's working and where do you see room for some improvement?
Thank you. Well, as I mentioned, 2 years into the program out of 10, and I think what we've seen over the last 18 months getting to this point is all 3 counties needing to ramp up, right? To be able to provide a program, it doesn't happen overnight where you suddenly have an infusion of money and you have all the caseworkers you need and all the contracts in place. So all 3 counties have been doing a great job ramping up at this point. As you see in the numbers, right? Even though they've been ramping up, they've still been getting outcomes. The question is how much faster can we get the machine, rolling? Can we get it it's out of first gear, it's into second, can we get it into third? And I think that's where we're having a little bit of problems is now, how do we get it into full implementation? And so right now we are working with Multnomah County that hasn't been able to get all the money out as fast as they had wanted on a corrective action plan. And we hope to help to get them into third gear. There's a lot of good conversation going on about what are the specifics that we can do to just ramp that up into third gear. For all of those who remember manual transmission. Did you get that? Okay.
Well, and it strikes me that there are so many different groups that need to coordinate in order to grapple with an issue like that. I mean, we've got the cities, we've got the counties, we've got the state, we've got community-based organizations and Metro. So that's a lot of wrangling of different groups that needs to happen. Is that a big part of the challenge?
Yeah, I think the needs are so great, and all three counties are working to not only get shelters in place, but also permanent supportive housing and all of the services. So yes, that has been part of the ramping up that we've been seeing, and being able to have the capacity inside the organization to be able to staff anything like that. So our work has been to support them through technical assistance, through data, and we will continue down that, making sure that we are providing that oversight. But let's not forget that we also have county oversight committees, a regional oversight committee, and a planning body for the future, besides the Metro Council and besides Metro staff. So we are working in continuous learning loops, so to speak. What's working, what's not working, and that conversation is happening on a monthly basis.
Right, right. Well, related to homelessness is the issue or the problem of the cost of building housing. So recently, Metro and the city both passed an affordable housing bond, and we know that the cost per door, on the other hand, for affordable housing is more expensive than private development. So while Metro and the city appear to be on track for their bonds and for their units of new housing, if we are going to move forward and continue to invest in affordable housing, what tools do we have to mitigate those costs?
Yeah, well, I guess I'd like to start first with, I am very pleased that the oversight committee for that bond has folks from the industry on it. They were very concerned about the cost per door coming in, but they've been very happy and have let us know that they've been pleased with the results to date. Now, there is inflation happening. I don't know if anybody noticed. But that is affecting the bond measure and the final results as well, even though we will have more units, right? The inflation has brought that down. But we have to also keep in mind that the affordable housing, low-income housing is being built to a higher standard for a longer lifespan, right? So that we can get more out of that in terms of, it's not just 14,000 people once. There's a lot of turnover. And so we need those buildings to have a longer lifespan than a regular residential property.
So the effort is not just to slap together a bunch of housing on a very short timeline, but try to make sure that it endures.
For sustainability.
Yeah, for sustainability. Good to know. And besides SHS, supportive housing services, and in addition to the housing bonds, as we know, Governor Tina Kotek has laid out an ambitious plan to produce more housing. Some are wondering what opportunities lie outside the urban growth boundary for like master planned communities to meet that new expectation from the state. What would you say to that?
Well, what I would say, first of all, is let's remember our recent past where there has been only yes at Metro to urban growth boundary expansions. So we have added quite a bit into our urban growth boundary and have about 18,000 acres currently. And some of those did have, when they come in when they come into the urban growth boundary, they need to show that the financing will be there. So those are moving, and we have a lot of good results from all of those, including the one at Tigard that we just approved. I think the largest issue of our time in this region, and it's been building for quite some time, is this land readiness issue. We are not going to be able to get low-income, affordable workforce or missing middle out there and built unless we actually have cities that are ready with the staff that they need, because there's no inspectors, no planners, no permitters right now. We just don't have enough of them, as well as the fact that our system development charges have gone so sky high in order to provide the parks, to provide the transportation, to provide the sewer and water, that if we don't start dealing with this problem of land readiness, we won't see family wage jobs coming, and we will not see affordable housing. So it's a complex issue. It's not just about the land, it's about the actual ability to develop that land.
Right, and you mentioned this in your prepared remarks as well. So where's the leverage there? Where's the traction? How can we grapple with that problem?
Yeah, I think that we're going to have to put our heads together because this is one of these big collaborative issues. I think a lot of cities and the counties and even Tualatin Hills Park and Rec District have looked at ways to either waive SDCs or reduce them or allow developers to put them into their development loan so that's not an upfront cost. So that's one way that a lot of folks are looking at how to deal with this, but that means that the city doesn't have the money to actually get the water, sewer. They are giving up in order to get this in, and so how do we support our cities and counties in doing that? I think that's the big question going forward. In a lot of other states, it's the state that helps. So I think we're lacking some fundamental tools that we should be providing cities and counties.
Very interesting. Well, let's turn to issues beyond housing and homelessness, and let's talk about one that's very near and dear to your heart, I think, transportation and infrastructure.
Yep.
And we know that our region lacks some critical investment in safe and reliable mobility options. So with competition for dollars scarce, what is the next step for the region to move forward to compete for more transportation resources?
Having the legislature take a final vote on the I-5 bridge. We need to be really focused at this moment, in my opinion. We need to be very focused in getting the I-5 bridge done. It is the single largest decision that this region will make that people internally and externally can feel proud of. Because we have had a very long couple decades of not being able to make big decisions. And if we can kick this one off, it will telegraph to people internally that yes, you can trust government to move forward, but also to chips manufacturing that yes, this is a place you want to invest. They can get big things done. So for me, this is the moment. Mm-hmm. We are living in a moment that we need to say yes, let's get this done, because we can then move on to other big, tough things. And we've got a muscle of how to work together and get it done. So I'm very much looking forward to this success to move forward with many others.
A lot riding on that decision, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Good to know. In terms of the environmental protection mandates, so to speak, of Metro, as you know, Metro's Parks and Nature Action Plan says that voters have repeatedly trusted Metro to protect clean water, restore fish and wildlife habitat, and provide opportunities for people to experience nature close to home. In fact, residents have approved several measures during the past 2 decades amounting to hundreds of millions of dollars to protect natural spaces and connect people to nature. Yet some people complain that the land that you've purchased is not necessarily accessible to regional residents. How do you respond to that?
Yeah, well, first we have to thank the voters for being able to have a regional parks system that is very much different than a local parks system. The purpose of Metro, right, we do not do overlapping. We try not to duplicate services. So when the question was put to the entire region for the first bond measure, well, what are we buying? Well, we're buying a lot of ability for locals to be able to do local parks, like pocket parks with, the swing set on it. That is a local park, and that's a local access point, right? And then you can have slightly bigger parks. Some of the counties have much bigger parks. Our role in the region is to make sure that we are purchasing property to make sure that we have clean air and clean water and restore natural habitat. So it's a very different conversation. And while all of our land is public and it is all open to the public, we have only been able to provide access to those lands that we have actually gotten to the point that they are restored so that they can provide that clean air and clean water and that natural habitat. So yes, all of them are open. Some of them have access, like Chehalem Ridge, which we just opened up. We did a lot of restoration there, and then we were able to open it up to the public.
Right, and so people may not fully understand Metro's role in trying to restore these habitats and then make them a place where guests could be invited, so to speak. You spoke briefly about Chehalem Ridge. Do you want to say anything more about that, or about an example of a property that isn't quite ready yet that you're in the midst of working on?
Yeah, I am proud, and I think the Metro Council's proud, that after decades of not making a decision at Metro of what to do with Willamette Cove, Metro Council has moved forward with the commitment to make sure that we can clean up that property. Now, it's a joint effort with the Port of Portland. It's a brownfield site, but the community said it's now. We want that access to the river now, and it's not actually safe to be down there because it is a brownfield until we actually clean it up. So we are working right now with the community to figure out what are the long-term uses for that area, and then how clean does it need to be. And then we can start to move forward. So there's really no access now because it really is not safe to be down there.
Right, and I hear that there's a couple processes, not just the cleanup and restoration, but also working with the community to hear what needs the community has for that property.
It's a lot of work, but these are the types of things we take on.
Right, right. Well, now for our last question. A lot has changed in our region since you were first elected, as you spoke about in your remarks. And after decades of population growth, one thing that's changing is that population growth that was primarily from in-migration is now showing signs of maybe stagnating or declining, meaning that we have to compete with other states for people and for business investment. This is a major concern because, as we know, our region's local governments are almost entirely dependent on business taxes and property taxes to fund their basic services. So what role do you see Metro playing in transforming the Portland region into a more competitive economic growth mindset?
Yeah, well, I think when I first moved here in 1993, weren't y'all told you had two incomes, two take-home paychecks? One was the actual paycheck and one was just living here. And I think that we've been through hard times, right? In the 80s, we had some pretty rough times coming out in the 90s. There was a population loss then, but we came together. We had a vision, and it wasn't just a downtown Portland vision, it was a regional vision. And it's an economic development outlook. Right? When people feel like there's a vision and there's commitment and there's collaboration, you can move mountains, right? And I think that that's where we're at right now. We are slowly coming back out of the pandemic and realizing we do have a lot of good assets. Now, how do we put those forward, whether it's Expo or the Affordable Housing Bond Measure or the I-5 Bridge, right? These are all pieces of the puzzle of economic development. And I think when we look at it, right now it feels really hard, but we're disrupting systems that weren't working. And that's what's going to be so attractive to people. They're going to see they took on the hard stuff, they've overcome it, and now they're going to surpass all their goals. So I have a lot of hope for the future based on what we're seeing right now in this region.
Right. Yesterday, you and I spoke a little bit about an earlier vision plan for the region, and then some work that may be underway to kind of renew the vision for the region.
Yeah. Well, I think what we heard coming out of lockdown is that nobody was ready for a 50-year visioning yet. Is that right? So we have the 2040 growth concept, and it's been working its magic and keeping us coordinated and moving forward. But there was a lot that we now know should have been in it, right? We were talking about sustainability then, now we're talking about climate change. We weren't talking about racial equity. Now we talk about the investment areas in the region where we need to bring things up to speed for a whole lot of things to make sure that every community has access to opportunity. We weren't talking about AI, and we didn't even have parks in the plan.
Right.
So we're looking right now at a 5-year strategic goal setting so that we can determine, are we on track for the region to meet these goals on housing, the economy, and climate change. And that's going to feed into the information. When you guys are ready, can we talk about 2070? What do we want to be when we grow up, right? And I think that's exciting. I think that's what's going to be another catalyst for us, because there are also things that have popped up that my mentor, John Friganese, who worked on 2040 with Ed Washington, there are multicultural centers that we have been investing in and growing that are not on the 2040 growth concept map. Let's recognize them. Let's embrace that. Let's move that forward. That's an amazing, amazing opportunity for this region.
Indeed. Nice to end on a hopeful and forward-looking note. So thank you very much for this opportunity to speak with you, and thank you to everyone for attending, and we hope that you'll join us for the reception out in the lobby. Join me in thanking President Peterson.